A very warm welcome back to your latest industry news, and today is a pretty big one with updates surrounding the 777X, Airbus looking to cut costs, and some developments within Australia and an airline that's seeing some shaky times at board level. Let's begin with the 777X. Boeing is finally taking the proper steps to obtain the certification for its upcoming 777X, as it achieves a significant milestone. What is this? Well, the American plane maker is celebrating the launch of test flights for its 777-9, which is part of the 777X family, and these are being supervised by the Federal Aviation Administration, a necessary step to get the plane eventually certified. Boeing's 777X has been clouded by consistent entry into service delays, and it's felt like also negativity, which has been highlighted even more so because of the challenge experienced at the plane maker internally. Airline customers of the 777X were expecting a first delivery in 2020, which puts it into perspective. However, as the manufacturer has battled relevant challenges with other aircraft and a pandemic, this target of 2020 was ultimately unattainable. As the internal struggles continued, the inability to certify this new widebody did become a focal point for the business. On several occasions, the manufacturer would be forced to readjust its expected timeline for certification and then entry into service. But then, time and time again, it would be unable to follow through with it once more. When we eventually reached a point when Boeing didn't feel the need to update its timeline and said basically it'll happen when it happens. Boeing says it's targeting first delivery of the 777X sometime in 2025. It expects certification to come in early 2025 as well. However, the leading customer of the 777X doubts that this can be achieved, and they're not the only ones, and I'll get into more examples shortly. Emirates has been the most prominent backer of this aircraft type through its substantial orders. It's also the largest customer, therefore, and has been the most vocal. The airline has looked for compensation on several occasions and voiced its frustrations publicly over the negative impact on its business because of these relevant delays. And they're not alone. Other leading customers of Lufthansa have stated that they don't expect the 777X to enter service with them until the summer schedule of 2026, saying that these delays are having a very strong financial impact. The FAA's scrutiny of how new aircraft are certified has increased substantially in the last 5 years, and this follows directly the flaws of the 737 MAX and the emergence of problems with Boeing that were because of previously failed certification processes. Getting this new widebody up and running has been one of Boeing's greatest challenges among many, and when you consider their increased focus on certification as well as oversight on the manufacturing process from the Federal Aviation Administration, it's been tough. Looking ahead, with the FAA present, Boeing will now work towards satisfactorily completing the most comprehensive commercial flight test effort ever seen. At least this is how the American plane maker is describing it. Once done, the 777X is expected to be one of the more safer types in the sky and ready to boost the airline's performance across long-haul missions with the latest levels of efficiency. But I'll be honest, I don't really dive into my opinion. I also feel that this aircraft is incredibly important for the future of Boeing. It is our first glimpse at the next era in terms of wide-body flying, and for Boeing, it's a chance to enter a plane into service, yes, with many delays, but smoothly, and have no issues crop up once the aircraft is in the sky. Maybe it is the kickstart we need for a new direction for this plane maker to restore its stance as one of the biggest plane makers in the world. Time will only tell though, and it will be something we're all no doubt following very, very closely. Moving across to competitor Airbus, and they're expected to implement measures to help cut costs in their business, and this comes just weeks after announcing plans to lower their delivery forecasts. The Performance Improvement Plan, as it is being described, has been labelled with the code LEAD. This initiative focuses primarily on cost cutting and attempts to freeze its division's headcount, which is certainly some professional lingo. I'll break it down a little bit further. This all comes according to Reuters, citing a memo that was sent to staff. Airbus basically wants to focus on ensuring it is well positioned for the future. future. Furthermore, the initiative will address difficulties that Airbus has experienced internally. While the planemaker is nowhere near experiencing the same struggles as competitor Boeing, it doesn't mean that it is simply immune to, say, its own niggles. Trust me, these are certainly present. Take a look at some of your leading Airbus customers who are also facing aircraft delivery delays. The manufacturer has also admitted it's behind in producing and therefore delivering its loss-making A220. Moreover, airlines such as Qantas, which are expecting new aircraft, have announced delays in obtaining their aircraft from Airbus in the last 6 months. So trust me, there have been things going wrong and it's been complicated. This new project is being implemented because of the factors just mentioned and Airbus's admission that it will be unable to reach its delivery target for 2024, which was outlined to be 800. On top of that, Airbus knows at some point that its competitor in the industry, Boeing, will recover. Now when that is remains to be seen, but you've got to think that it will happen at some point. And with the knowledge that one day the gap between Airbus and Boeing will close in and Boeing will once more be a force to be reckoned with, Airbus is attempting to sort out its affairs and leave itself in the best possible position to compete with Boeing when they return. Airbus doesn't want to shake up its business massively, and the initiatives should not be considered a concerning response, but rather a sensible approach to the difficulties that they're facing in their current operating environment. The manufacturer said it'll review its operations from a workforce perspective and set other associated goals to get it in the best possible shape. In the medium to long term, the planemaker would hope that all the relevant measures will stabilise its supply chain as best as possible and make that complex operating environment less toxic to their overall business. On to the final story, and Australian airline Rex is in a bit of disarray as news breaks surrounding concerns for the current board following shareholder developments. A former chief executive and businessman from Singapore is basically putting the entire board at risk as the largest shareholders look to remove the chairman and other leading executives from the regional but now growing Australian company. Investors were informed that the previous chief executive wanted to remove the new chairman and also a business partner who helped become a shareholder of Rex some 2 decades ago. Now, as an Australian company, Rex has developed quite considerably in the last 4 years. During the pandemic, its focus really shifted from strictly serving regional locations to jet-powered operations, and as part of the strategy shift, Rex went from these regional bases with turboprop aircraft to acquire 737s that were already flying in Australia, and it then launched service between major cities such as Melbourne and Sydney. This launch meant it would compete with the Qantas Group and even over to Virgin Australia. While all these related calls for the Rex board to basically be upended are groundbreaking, it would appear that it's the tipping point of already internal difficulties at a board level that have taken place in the last couple months. As for the Australian aviation industry, well, it gets no simpler. Take a look at Bonza, who not only entered the industry in the last 18 months, but also collapsed. Virgin Australia, who have emerged from administration, but are now looking at a stake from Qatar Airways, and Qantas Group, who have lost a lot of trust and are facing a lot more competition than ever before. So it's complex. That'll conclude today's aviation news recap. You can let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Thank you very much for your support here on the channel. Take care, be safe. I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time. And we'll fly.